Okay, welcome back, everyone, to the Global Confluence Debrief Day, our first version of these on the day after the 2 days of the r3.0 conference. We have spent some time reflecting on the conference experience by Confluences throughout the world. I believe I counted that in the first hour we had 4 continents represented: Africa, Europe, and North and South America, and Asia and Australia. I know we've got representation from Australia, but we'll be hearing from Australia and potentially Asia in future iterations of this. The special thing about this particular Confluence Debrief Day is that we are joined by 2 really wonderful guests, keynote speakers, David Haenke and Laura Kuri, who will both be sharing perspectives on the act of bioregional congressing, the Ambling Toward Bioregional Congressing, and in particular, how all of us in the bioregional movement might take up this practice and things, hands-on examples of what we can do to revitalize the bioregional congressing practice. So we will start with David, and I'm going to bring up slides for that. David and I are going to do essentially a connected process where we'll do it in essentially interview format. So I'm going to pose a couple of questions to David that will frame the kind of responses and information that we're seeking there. So David, if you are ready, I will get going. All set?
Okay.
Okay, great. Yep. I'm going to turn on my timer. We're about 12 minutes each. So this is the fractal nature of bioregional congressing. And the first thing that we're going to look at is, David, when you and I were talking in preparation for this, really what focused the conversation was the fractal nature of the bioregion, and that the Bioregional Congress is a fractal of what the bioregional movement is looking to do in terms of creating ecological economies, and that ultimately that would fractalize up to the emergence of a nature nation. So the question or invitation here is for you to unpack those relationships for us a little bit, in particular to give us a deeper understanding of the Bioregional Congress practice. So over to you for that.
Okay. I know I don't have much time, but I need to stay in the nature of the bioregional mind, where I'm from. I'm from the Bryant Creek watershed of the Salem Plateau ecoregion of the Ozarks bioregion of Turtle Island Earth. That's my address, and I'm speaking to you from the Bryant Creek watershed. So that's my only real address. My other addresses are geopolitical nonsense. So yes. So this slide here before us, as Bill said, the nature, and capital N, the nature, as I see it, and I've experienced it here in the Ozarks, and as a student of the oak tree, which is the namesake of the Ozark Area Community Congress. In other words, we created a name to basically say oak. We are people of the oaks and of the Ozark bioregion. And the bioregion, as Bill said, is what I call an eco-holofractal of the Earth itself and the Earth's workings as ecospatially delineated by the Earth herself. And um, the Congress is a means to recognize the self-organizing nature, the autopoietic, if I pronounce the correct, nature of the bioregion, as Thomas Berry said, self-organizing, self-healing, self-teaching, and to celebrate and honor that as our teacher, we're listening to our bioregional Earth here. And in that listening, the Congress purports to and hopes to and does in its, I say, 55 assemblies between Ozark Congress #1 in 1980 and Continental Turtle Island Congress #10 in 2009. These two constitute 55 connected assemblies. And those assemblies attempt to, in a completely horizontal way, everyone attending is a peer assembly, and we are bringing together, we're invoking and attempting to bring together every element of regenerative practice that exists or can exist within the bioregion as taught and resonated by the bioregion itself. So it's a representative assembly of peers representing not only your watershed, your bioregion, or your continent, but also and or your regenerative practice. That would be, I have a list that I hope pops up on the screen of somewhere around 25 to 30 different elements that the Congress invokes. Essentially, the Congress invokes everything, the entire potential and actual presence of human beings in a resonant context, because the bioregion concludes everything at every level. Thank you, Bill, for putting this up, because this is the first time I've ever been able to bring it forth, because it seems like a laundry list, but actually it's a prayer. And everything in here is, there are two pages to this slide. This is I believe, the second one. Do you have both, or maybe there's another page, but, oh, maybe that's everything. I don't know. Okay, but anyway, all I'm hoping to do in this talk, since every single one of these elements is what I call an eco-holofractal, and every one of these includes the totality of the meaning and essence of the entirety of the bioregional process, the bioregional congressing process. So if you are a part, or you are made, you have a passion with any of these, then by extrapolation, you are connected to the totality of what the bioregion is expressing through the Congress process. So I hope, my only hope with this talk, and I'm probably getting close to out of time already, is that maybe one of these passions, what we do at the first of any Congress is to assemble in a circle, and oftentimes with the oak tree in our circle, we are going into alliance with nature, not just cooperation, recognition, but a sacred alliance with the natural world and with the bioregion. That's what a Congress is about. It's a ceremonial village where we work hard, we celebrate, and most of it is spontaneous and self-organized. And so anyway, I'm trying so if anything connects with you, then this could be your pathway to Congress.
David,
Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder, we're actually doing fine on time. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
And so,
Yeah.
I wonder if, you could just say a little bit about the relationship between the Congress and ecological economics, which
Yes,
we've got
yes.
sort of on this,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
maybe how that then connects to the nature nation side of things.
Yes. One of the purpose of the Ozark Area Community Congress and our 45 assemblies has been to begin to cohere the inherent ecological economy of the bioregion, because the bioregion has a perfect ecological economy, or aka a photosynthetic economy, and this economy is totally ecologically resonant. And the ecological economy is a pathway, the cohering and the bringing together of the ecological economy is essential to this coherence. And oh, my phone is ringing. I don't know how to make it stop.
It
So yeah. So anyway, um, yeah.
and David, in terms of from our conversation prior, you said that the goal of the bioregional congress is to help the emergence of an ecological economy in the bioregion. But that didn't stop
Yes.
there. That the goal of of an ecological economy is the emergence of a nature nation. So I'm wondering if you could just say a little bit
Yes.
more
Yes.
about that.
Well, yeah, okay. Yes, the process of coming together under the aegis of this, what I would call meta ecoholofractal, is the process of bringing the representation of all these elements, as many as we can bring together, um, in this deliberative process. That very process of of organizing the assembly, of then meeting, of speaking about these representative elements in a horizontal way. Again, we don't have paid speakers or anything of that sort. Uh, the way that this is done through the plenaries, the decision is a decision-making body, and the decision-making body reflects and comes to consensus on the actions for the Congress. And so we say that no one can speak for the Congress but the Congress itself. And so it's a process of meeting, and then that process of meeting coheres into agreements which we consent upon, which then constitute the continuance of the assembly from one uh, periodicity of meeting to another. In the case of the Ozarks, it's 1 year. In the case of the Continental Congresses, or the Continental Turtle Island Congresses, it was about 2 years. And then that stretched out, and sometimes they were 4 or 5 years apart. But it is so the Congress continues. It delegates its continuance to a steering council, which holds the essence and spirit of the Congress and brings it then to the next site where the Congress assembles within the bioregion and within the continent. So it's a deliberative process, and it has roots in, if I may say, the Haudenosaunee Nation, the way of the governance. It is a governance structure in action for moving towards the realization of nature and nation. Realization means become aware of. It also means to bring into being. So the nature and nation already exists in the bioregion. The bioregional economy already exists. Our work is to remember and to realize what is all around us and which is instructing us every second of our life. Um, the workings of the Congress are something that uh, uh, need to be explained or unpacked at some point. Um, but it is a fractal of governance for inaction of and from the bioregion moving toward the nature nation. And that was the intent of the Ozark Congress from the very inception. I refer to it sometimes as Ozark Nation. And I'm speaking to you from Ozark Nation, and in invoking the reality of Ozark Nation is it already exists, and that we are trying to realize um, in our assemblies. And those assemblies um, started in 1980, and the second one, Oak 2, had representation from the Planet Drum Foundation and other parts of the continent, as well as the Ozarks. And in plenary, in our decision-making body, the body agreed that to empower me to go forward to organize what I had proposed there, which is a continental or Turtle Island Bioregional Congress. And so the action of the Congress by resolution empowered me to go forward and begin the organization of the Continental Assembly. So this is how the Congress works. And then the Continental Assembly then met and empowered itself to then continue by resolution of the plenary to the next Congress, which was the second one of the Great Lakes. And that in turn empowered a steering council to then go forward to the third Congress in Cascadia, which is where the 11th Congress is set to happen in 2026. So I hope I've given you a flavor of this. It is an entirety. It is a holofractal of what I consider the entire meaning and purpose of the bioregional movement. So that's okay. I'll stop there, I guess. I think we're over time.
We're doing perfectly, David. Thank you
so
much. And I'm gonna, as I've been doing throughout, I'm gonna invite people to reflect briefly, quietly on what David has shared. And what I deeply appreciate from you, David, is sharing this historical continuum. The idea that what we see on the screen is not it's not something that is sealed in the past. It's actually something that's ongoing. And so I think we will get a sense of that with Carrie's presentation. But now we're going to shift over to Laura Kuri's presentation. So I will stop sharing on that one as I bring up the slides for Laura. Laura will be representing both the Bioregional Congress at the continental scale in 1996 that she co-hosted with others. But perhaps more importantly, this thread of ongoing practice that essentially what's most important is how this practice of bioregional congressing and the associated practices of bioregioning and other forms of advocacy continue on. So I'm sharing the slides. Are folks able to see them? Great. Laura, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. Well, first of all, I want to tell you that the first time I listened to David Haenke, I think this was around 1987 that he came to Mexico. And immediately when I listen to him, I get a road on my life. So for me, being now here with you all and with David, it's just a pleasure. And all my life has been determined by that moment that I listened about bioregionalism, that it's a very hard word to say for me in English. Anyway, getting involved in this philosophy and make it part of my life, and not only mine, we built in Mexico a movement that is called Vision Council Air Guardians. That's how the bioregional movement is what has been called in Mexico, and it has been going all down to Latin America through the Consejo de Visiones. So many people of the Vision Council, we start working in this Bosque de Agua. This Bosque de Agua, it's a word that came from the native people. They used to call this area Ashuco, and Ashuco means water forest or Bosque de Agua. So we keep that name again, or the concept of that name, and we are calling to that area the Bosque de Agua, because these are the mountains that are in between. We can see the next picture, please. You see, well, that's Mexico, and we're talking about that little piece that you can see on the middle. So we are on the center of the country, and this is a very centralized country, centralized nation. Everything has to happen from the center. So we can go to the next one, please. In this picture, you can see in the one that is at the right, I think, it's like a W of mountains. You see it? Well, that W of mountains, it's where three watersheds are born. The Rio Balsas, that it comes down to the Pacific Ocean, the Rio Lerma, that also goes to the Pacific Ocean, and there is one more that it's the Rio Pánuco, so these three, and the Pánuco goes to the Gulf of Mexico. So in these mountains that are on the center of the nation, three big rivers are growing or are rising, and there is one specific place that is called El Capulín. That in this place, exactly it was a big volcano that explodes, and from this valley, it became three rivers. One goes to the Mexico City and arrives to the Pánuco. The other one gets to the Lerma, and the other one arrives to the Amacuzac and Balsas. So for me, this is the heart of the forest. But the problem is that this place that it's blessed for nature, it's divided by three different governments, by three provinces. So the local people doesn't have a way to really resolve their problems. Who they go with? They go to the government of Mexico City, they go to the government of Morelos, or they go to the government of the state of Mexico. Even though they go wherever they go, nobody takes care of that place, and that heart of the forest is getting in a big danger, because now it becomes land of no one, and the bad guys, the crimen organizado, the guys that are cutting all the trees, are just destroying this beautiful forest. So this forest gives water for at least 30 or 40 millions of people. So we are talking about a lot of people. So we can go to here, as we cannot take care of the whole thing, we are starting in the other picture that is surrounded by a green line. That's the first step of the forest that we are trying to protect. Can we see the next picture? So how are we doing this? We are getting gatherings with the local people, with the women, with the men, through the knowledge of facilitation and as David says before, building consensus. I learned this technique by my teacher, Caroline Estes, that she was part, and she just died a few years ago, but she was one of the pioneers of the bioregional movement, and she teach us how to build consensus. And then after Beatriz Briggs, that was also a student of Caroline Estes, she moved to Mexico, and here in Mexico, we built a whole movement of how to build consensus. So through this movement of building consensus, we start working with the local people, with the campesinos and with the ejidatarios and the comuneros, who are the real owners of the land. We can go to the next one. Also, we start working with the farmers that works on the area and going to the farmers markets and building a bioregional life. It is to get gathered with the people that it's doing something nice in your area, in whatever, in any way. But of course, the people that is doing environmental things are going to be your first alliances. So we work with the campesinos, with the farmers. Next one. Then we also went to work with the politicians. As the bioregional philosophy tells you, you always have to find who is a good political leader in your area, and you have to get close to them and support them and make them and help them to do their job. So we cannot wait to the politicians to do the things. We have to go and say, hey, you have to do this, I'm doing it for you. Okay, help me, support me, and we also have to get in close with the politicians, and we also have to work with the lawyers to help you to do the changes on the law. We have, through the bioregional congresses, we have changed many laws. We changed the law of Mexico City, that now you have to, by law, you have to separate all your disposals. We also changed the law of the energy, with the Minister of Energy, because in Mexico before you only talk about petroleum. Renewable energy wasn't on law. So we were working with the deputies and the senators to change the law, and we put renewable energies on law. And also with the forest, in this picture you are looking, we were changing the law. So now to have the programs, the environmental, los POETs, el programa de ordenamiento, the territorial ordenamentary, or I don't know if how you, then, or the environmental development of a municipality has to be taken, first of all, by the watershed, not by the political frontier. It has to be taken by the watershed. So that this is another goal of the bioregional movement, no? So it's very important you get in touch with the politicians of your area and arrive to the ones of the federal governments. So we work with the local people, with the campesinos, and with others, and we arrive to the federal chambers. Can we go to the next one? Here we also do the work, the real work. We go to the fields with people, and we work with the NGOs, and we do reforestations and cleanings of rivers and markets and many, many other actions. But it's also another kind of people you have to be close by. So this is another one, civil participation. Next one, please. Here, then we also work again in an international level. We bring to Mexico the Rights of Nature Forum. We make this big, it was the first and biggest Rights of Nature Forum. We gathered this one in Mexico a few years ago. And since then, we are starting to put the rights of nature into the laws of the provinces. We haven't do it in a federal way, but we have been doing this in the governments of the provinces. Now there are 5 provinces in Mexico that has already put the right of nature in their law, but that doesn't mean it haven't arrived to real actions, because the laws are, one is the biggest law, but then you have to have the second laws and the regulations and how to make this true. But still we are on that track. We are trying to get rights of nature slowly into the different federal, into the different provinces. Next one, please. Oh, here we arrive to the senator's chamber, and also we get to be the rights of nature. At least the first one, it was in Mexico City, and many of the people, most of the people that is in this picture were the ones of the bioregionalistas mexicanos, the Mexican bioregionalist people. Next one, please. Here, then after we start doing this, during the Vision Council's Air Guardian, we restart working on the forest. We start working with the forest, with the Bosque de Agua in 2009, and we were working very hard till 2014, something like it. And then we stopped a little bit for different reasons. But in 2023, we have again a vision, 22, I think, or 23, I don't remember. We have a new Vision Council, and we restart this working with the forest. We return to keep going with the forest. So it was very important for us. Since then, we haven't stopped. Next one, please. So also we work with the academics. This is another sector you have to have in your mind. So the local people, the scientifics, the NGOs, the government, the leaderships. You have to gather all of them, and we all have to work together and think in the bioregion in a different way. We have to make networks with all these people that is thinking on the places. Next one, please. Then we are working in, well, with this forest water, what it has happened is that we've been working with all these different sectors, and mostly the most important is with the local, with the defenders of the forest. And in this moment, exactly, then we got to talk with the government, as you can see in the next picture, I think. Okay, we got to gather. Now we have in Mexico a female president and 3 females governors of the provinces. So we gather these 3 governors, women governors, and we make them sign for the first time in history a protection. They sign that they will protect the forest, because this forest is in a big danger. I don't want to get into because it's a very long story, but it's we gathered these 3 women and they sign, and so from that moment now we are with the government working with the local people, seeing how can we protect this forest. But exactly in this moment, the communities are like when the Black Panthers say, hey, you all white people, please go far away a little bit. Thanks for helping us to arrive to this moment. But now we niggers have to ask for our the rights. So in this moment, this is what is happening here. The indigenous people, the native people, that is the owner of the land, they say, hey, all of you, please go 1 foot forward, back, and let us, the towns, the origin people, we have to ask for our right for our forest. So this is what is happening now, but at the same time, the government is gathering who are all the different agencies of the government that has to be working with the forest, and the academics are at the same time working. Everything has to be done with the academics, the NGOs, and the origin people. Is like everybody's doing their work, and we will have next year a great encounter. In the one we will gather again and see how are we going to keep working in protecting this forest. So this is an example of how do the bioregional thinking and philosophy and life will arrive to a different level and to work with the local people and whoever is involved in, at least here in Mexico. And here I stop, and I don't know if there are any questions or something you would want me to go in more deeper.
Thank you so much, Laura. First, we'll pause in both appreciation and in taking in what you've shared with us, particularly appreciating that you are bringing us up to the present moment of the interwoven advocacy that you're talking about. So thank you for that. We have about 15 minutes, a little less than 15 minutes for some dialogue. And so I would ask us to open that up. I haven't been able to track the sidebar while while I've been doing presenting. Ralph, I wonder if you're able to share if there's a question in the sidebar.
Bill, there's no question in the sidebar. There was just discussion about books and people loving to see David's face. So that was really what it was all about.
Great. Are there questions that we've got outside of the sidebar? And if we're not hearing one from the audience, I've got in some ways a ton of questions myself. In particular, around. I'll start with, well, actually, I'll defer to Skeeter and get a question from the audience. So Skeeter, Michael, over to you.
David, would you say a little bit about the proceedings of the Congress? Because out of the Congresses, there's a consensus process where, in a sense, they are speaking for the nature nation or speaking to the world. Could you maybe say a few words about the proceedings, because that's a way of tracking what's been happening?
Oh, and David, you're on mute. If you could go off mute.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Here I am, I guess. Yeah, Skeeter, so good to see you after a long time. And greetings from this forest to your forest. Um, um, yeah, the proceedings of the Congresses are rather extraordinary documents. And um, coming up is Carrie Crisp, who's going to be talking about the coming together of the 11th Continental or Turtle Island Bioregional Congress, and she's in a deep study right now of the proceedings of North American Bioregional Congress 1 from May of 1984, and in that, so the proceedings are basically the uh, um, gathering of the deliberations, particularly in the first three Congresses, and the resolutions of the plenary, which and by consensus came up with agreements about how to go forward. And for instance, our first resolution that we passed in 1984 was the resolution honoring all uh, uh, Native and Indigenous treaty rights. And it was our first presentation was from the Native American and Indigenous Committee with representation from Hopi, Navajo, Odawa, and and this was very powerful. And we were given a prayer um, uh, to basically begin our deliberative process. But So the proceedings there's just a few of them around. I have a couple of copies left of the first proceedings, uh, but they are basically the epitomization of what happened at the event. And then during the events, there was also something called the Voice of the Turtle, uh, which was an in-house daily newsletter. And we have issues of that, which kind of go along with the proceedings. But uh, I'm not sure uh, what else to say about them. You just have to kind of see them. But they are a document embodying the essences that could be transcribed from the agreements and the committee meetings of the Congress over a period of uh, the 5 to 8 days. That's one thing that's very important about congressing, is that for it to really knit together and begin to come into its coherence and its spirit, it needs to be at least 5 days long, because the third day is when things begin to come together. It's almost like a law of congressing that we have found. Uh, but anything particular about the proceedings, Michael? I know I'm being very general here, but um, anything else that you would like me to relay? I mean, about the proceedings.
I would just like to point out to everybody, and they should have this in their living document, is that um, it's one of the best ways to get a sense of what happens at the Congresses. And the Planet Drum Foundation sells, I believe, the proceedings from the second and third, but I don't know how to get my hands on the proceedings from the number one. My copy has disappeared. So anyway, I imagine Bill and Ralph will tell us how to get the proceedings from number one at some point.
Well, I think David started to answer that Carrie Crisp has been transcribing at least some of the recordings as far as I understand that. But One thing I will say is that I do think that we're now in an age where we may have different technologies that may transform how we do proceedings, or how Congresses decide to do proceedings. So it may go from more of an analog to a digital modality. So that's something that I think this confluencing community, as it ambles towards Congressing, we can explore building on the best practices from the past of bioregional Congressing and the proceedings, and adapting some of the newest technologies. I'm chiming in here just because we've got now a real waterfall of great questions. So I want to get to some of those. There's a cluster of questions for Laura, and I think that this speaks to, we may need to invite you back into one of our community calls in the future. One I think that's particularly important would be from Deborah Leipziger. She's asking, can you talk more about the importance of female leadership? And then we had a couple of maybe clustered questions. One was from Michelle Braniff on, were the movements for rights to nature discussion-based, or were there court cases? And then Peter Jones had a slightly more targeted question of that. He said, how is the reforestation project working with the Lake Texcoco and Xochimilco restoration? Are these projects collaborating in the larger CDMX bioregion? So Laura, that may be a bunch for you to take in, but I'm wondering if you could speak to that cluster of questions.
Hey, well, first of all, that it's a we are celebrating in Mexico that this leadership of women, because Mexico is very, very patriarchal and very macho, no? So now that we have this president, Claudia Sheinbaum, like, she is great. She's an environmentalist. She was a teacher of my ex-husband, Fabio Mancini, that he is also a bioregionalist people, no? And she is, I think she's making a great work, and she's the one of the only ones that has been stopping Trump, saying, hey, no, sir, it's not like that, no? So I think that it's very, very important that we have this president of Mexico. And also the three women that are leadership of the three provinces, they become the women time in Mexico, is like we call it now. And now the president of the Senators' Chamber is Laura Itzel Castillo, that she's been part of the bioregional movement since 1995, I think. His father was also a great environmentalist, an engineer, el ingeniero Castillo, Eberto Castillo. So it's a good time. It's like the left, this is a left, more left political movement, more social, no politicians. So we have hope. And this is like the first window that we have in all these years of someone that can listen about environmental topics. So if in these 6 years we be able to build a great platform of environmental topics in the government, this will give us a window for the next government, and let's see. So we the environmental people, we are feeling in a way more relief that we have someone that listens, and it's something is happening. And about the Texcoco and Xochimilco, well, the Texcoco Lake was almost going to die with the last government, with the last capitalism government, that they want to build on the lake and an airport. And then we have the first step of the 3-4, the fourth transformation of Mexico with the left governments. And they say, stop, we were not going to do that airport in the lake. Thank God, because, or God says, because this lake, it's a lake, the water is always going to go back to their place. It's always going to go back. In the rainy season, it's going to go up, and we will have many, many troubles. So they stop that project, and there are, in a way, now it become a national park, the Lago de Texcoco, and it's being restoring slowly. And Xochimilco, as always, is a very special place for all the movement of the original native people. And it's very, in one way, has a lot of pressure of the development people that wants to build in Xochimilco. And at the same time, it's a big fight and protection of the people that they want to keep Xochimilco as it is, as a watershed and an area of cultivation. So there is always something happening around. I cannot tell you exactly how it's today, but I know many things are happening, and people is fighting to keep their place as much as they can in the nature balance. And I think there was another question about rights of nature.
The rights of nature, whether it was just discussion-based or whether there were actual court cases codifying it in legal.
No, we are not really in fighting in cases. We are very low. There was some things happening in the right of nature movement here in Mexico, but I think that from now on it will be like it start very hard, and then something happened with some people that were doing not very nice things with this, so it destroyed a little bit the movement. But now it's rebuilding again. No, we clean it, and now it's going again into. We try to do something with some rivers, but we really haven't arrived to something that it could really be like it's been happening in Colombia, that they have rivers that has rights. We have to do that. It's still something that has to be built well in Mexico.
Great. Thank you so much, Laura. We've got a bunch of questions here, and so we're nearing the end of our time. So I've just checked in with Carrie in the background. We're going to extend this Q&A for 5 minutes or so, and then extend Carrie's time into the break and collapse our break from 10 minutes down to 5 minutes. I hope that's okay for everyone. So David, there was a question for you from the Northeast Woodlands Bioregioning Collective. So you mentioned the Haudenosaunee. We're wondering if the initiatives that you spoke about, both in the Ozarks and the continental scale, does it include relationships with the Haudenosaunee people?
So the inspiration and intuition and impetus for basically using the Haudenosaunee experience as I read about it, and just completely, galvanized a whole lot of things within me. But I did not have a direct connection to the people, although I've since met folks in various places, but and so it's basically, it was inspirational from what I could gather back in the early 70s, as a powerful means of essentially a bioregional nation. The native nations of indigenous nations of the continent have basically grown or inhabited their space in many cases very parallel to bioregional boundaries. And here in the Ozarks, the Osage Nation was very much centered on the Ozarks bioregion up until they began moving west. But in the 15 to 1600s, they were of this bioregion, very powerful, and they have a very profound system of governance as well, which there's not much information about. So, but yeah,
Thanks.
Anyway, it was inspiration from readings, yeah.
Okay, thank you, David. We may follow up on that offline. I know that Mike Thomas, I've been in conversation with him about connecting with his relations in the Haudenosaunee community. So we may connect with you and integrate that into our ongoing ambling work, so to speak.
All right.
I'm going to cluster a couple of questions together for Laura. Actually, one is for both of you, and one of them is specifically to Laura. So for Laura, you made a parallel between, this is from Eric Holmlund. You made a parallel between the current rise of Mexican indigenous voice and power and the American Black Panther movement, but we can see the backlash against that now in the US with the powerful claiming that their rights are oppressed in favor of the minority. Are you concerned with backlash? We never want to self-center out of fear, but how do you prepare for possible backlash? So that's one question. And a related question from Nadine Cantor in the Champlain Adirondack Confluences. She's curious about what have been some of the barriers to the emergence and evolution of bioregional congresses, and how have those been overcome? So Laura, to you first on the potential of backlash and how you address that.
Well, it's happening in Mexico now. It's like for the first time in history, after 500 years of colonization, there is like a new panel, a new view of the origin people. We don't even call them indigenous anymore because that's out of law. It's the origin people, no? Now there is an institution, a federal institution that is giving them their rights. So the towns, many towns and many town people that they are gathering together also for the first time, no, not only by their region or like the Wirráricas or the Otomís or the Mayas. Now, like they are getting together, all of them, and they are asking for their rights. And that's how I make this parallel with the Black Panthers movement, when they gather together and say, hey, all of you go a little bit farther and we are going to fight for our rights. And this is what is happening also. We are very close to them, but they say, hey, stop a little bit. Now we are going to be the ones that we ask for our rights, because now they have their own lawyers, their own engineering. Many of them, they already has gone to school. They have a different kind of knowledge, and they are asking for their own rights. And for the first time, they are being listening. I don't know how this is going to arrive and if it really will come a reality for many changes, but at least we have a hope. And this is something that bioregionalism gives us, hope. For me, that's the most important part of the bioregionalismo, is that for me and for the people that I talk about, is that it gives us hope. And let's see what it happens, no? I'm a spider, like I do networking between the academics, the politicians, the local people, the NGOs. So I'm keeping this network where that, okay, we are working together, and let's see where we do our right, no? And so that was one thing.
Great, Laura. Thank you. I guess let's end. We're bleeding a little bit in here, but maybe any quick points about obstacles and how they were overcome.
Well, obstacles for now in the forest is the crimen organizado, the crime. The people that is killing the forest, they have a very bad, they are taking all the good forest and taking it to the States or to China with the avocados, no? So this is the worst thing, because the local people is afraid, because this crime, they have a lot of money and they have big fights, they have big well, the people have the machete or maybe a long gun or something, but these people, the crimen organizado, I don't know in English, organized crime, I don't know what's the name, but yep. Is the biggest bear now, it's the crimen organizado. And this is very, very bad situation. Yeah, this is our biggest
morning. Yep. David, any quick final thoughts on say one example of an obstacle and how you overcame it?
Um, well, gosh, I mean, we you framed a question that is a work in progress. It has to do, and it's something I've been working on, and I'm working on with other folks in the what I call in the second wave of the movement to attempt to show the deep analog relationships between the bioregional ethos, as I'll call it, and that of which I cannot speak for, but I can only honor the ethos, if you like, or the life ways, or the realities, or the histories, the legacies, the profound wonder of the native and indigenous experience, and how and what are the deep and resonant, even I would say even spiritual connections between these movements, where the bioregional movement arose um, out of what I would call an evolutionary moment in human consciousness, but it was predominantly amongst the people of the settler culture, had to find a way to connect with the earth, and did not have a cultural a context for it, because there is nothing in the civilizational Neo-European culture that connects deeply with Earth. And so we had to evolve a kind of of an evolutionary leap in what I would call ecocentric or non-anthropocentric consciousness, in order to arrive at a way to deconstruct the terrible paradigm that we grew up in. And so so what it leads to is, there's the ecocentric consciousness came forth in the late 60s, early 70s. But it was something, it was the only way that us of the invader culture could access connection, a deep connection to Earth, and we did not have cultural intermediaries to do it. We had to do it directly between ourselves and the forests and the grasslands and the trees and the places that we lived, in association with the plant intelligences, which is a whole nother subject. So basically, how do we? The question is, in a barrier to an inclusivity of the bioregional movement is, how do we make alliance, because we don't have a cultural context, and bioregional ing or ism provides a newly forming culture that does not attempt to or subsume anything in this very difficult territory of decolonization and cultural appropriation, subsume anything from the native and indigenous wonders of that experience on Earth and on Turtle Island. So it's the extension of the analog is incredibly important in the working together without appropriation. It's a deep territory, but we often talk about how we have to find a way to incendently to speak so that our words are the reality that they represent, just as I understand Native Indigenous language, words, and culture did. The words were the actual reality of what is spoken, and we have to get there. We have to be invited, and we have to be asking for permission every step of the way. So I don't know. That's the best I can do with that one. It's a huge issue.
It's an issue that thank you, David, for you weren't talking at the sort of micro level of how to order latrines. You were talking at the highest level of consciousness shifting, being the primary barrier that we're going to need to deal with. And it's definitely a question that we can't answer comprehensively in the short amount of time that we've got. So thank you for that effort. We will be in ongoing conversation in this community around how to enact this congressing practice. So I want to thank you both, David and Laura, both for your presentations and for your participation in this dialogue. I'll ask us all to pause briefly and let that thinking and action in as we transition from David and Laura over to Carrie Crisp to give a forward-looking view of bioregional congressing. So thank you again, David and Laura. And Carrie.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, R3.0. Thank you, Lotta, everyone.
Thank you. And Carrie, if you could just bring your slides up and we'll spotlight you and get the ball rolling on an exciting announcement about Turtle Island Bioregional Congress 11. And we can see it. Oh.
Sorry, I had to come off mute and my slides were blocking. So give me one second.
Okay, cool. There we go.
All right. And you can see the normal version, right? Not the presenter mode?
Not the presenter mode.
Okay, wonderful. So hi, everyone. I am Carrie Crisp, as Bill said. And just by way of introduction, I wanted to say I'm doing a PhD. Maybe somebody can mute. Anyway, I'll keep going. So I'm doing a PhD focused on the bioregional movement at the California Institute of Integral Studies, and I'm beginning to work on bioregional strategy at the Earth Law Center, as well as for the Society for Earth Law, which is a new initiative that's going to be announced at Climate Week coming up soon. So I just wanted to say also that it feels like a real honor to close out this bioregional banquet of a conference that r3.0 has put on, and I'm really excited to share with you today something we've been working on for many months, and we're sharing publicly for the first time here, is that the Turtle Island Bioregional Congress is back. And so after a 16-year hiatus, the 11th Continental Congress is going to be happening next year in September in Port Townsend, Washington, which is in the beautiful Olympic Peninsula of the Cascadia bioregion, right on the Salish Sea as well. So we've got a sense of what a Congress might be, but I just want to say that a Congress is not a conference at all. It's a co-created and participatory event, and it's going to unite around 300 place-based allies to strengthen ecological and cultural resilience across the continent. So why is this happening now? Well, I think we're all here because we understand that because of 500 years of really intense colonization, there's really no better time like the present to mobilize our collective agency. And it's becoming increasingly evident that no one is coming to save us, and certainly not the structures that were created under this dominant worldview that totally strips the natural world of its intrinsic value. So people are waking up to this, thank goodness, and good work is happening everywhere. But we could really benefit from having better coordination and also the cultural reinforcement that goes around building the practices to do this work. And my slide is not advancing now for some reason. There we go. So I found the bioregional approach when I first came upon it to be a very hopeful idea that's based in common sense, really. And we might say that it's an idea whose time has come. And of course, it's not a new idea at all. We've heard that people have had biocultural identities since time immemorial, and these persist, luckily, in indigenous and earth-based traditions. So before this reign of global monoculture, as Peter Berg called it, people had to tune into the land because otherwise we wouldn't survive, right? And so I knew the bioregional movement was something I could get behind when I saw the resolutions coming out of the first Congress with a commitment to indigenous sovereignty. And we certainly want to honor this going forward. And I just want to read real quick the first resolution that was passed from the Native Peoples Committee. It says the Congress commits to developing and strengthening networks with indigenous and traditional peoples and other communities within one's own bioregion to effect appropriate action which reflects our philosophy. And their philosophy, it says, is spirituality is the foundation for our way of life. So there's a lot more to that there and a lot more I could say, but I just wanted to provide that grounding that in 1984, people were doing good work to make this happen back then. So several of us here have been working on this for many months, I think going on almost a year now to get this process to where it is right now. And it's now time for us to welcome in additional partners to lead in the co-creation of this event. And so the Congress is really in service to the continent. It's in service to the community of life and cultural stewards and the wisdom keepers and the many people who are doing this work to create a better world. And so there's a new wave of bioregional organizing that is on the rise. And we feel like a Congress at this time is really going to help cohere the momentum. And we're not driving a particular agenda, as this Congress is really about serving the needs of place-based allies. But you can broadly think of the Congress working across these three domains here. We want to encourage the self-organization of fractal levels of governance, as well as strengthening indigenous and local sovereignty, and perhaps even using the law in very strategic ways to do that. And also increasing connection and solidarity. You know, this work is often very difficult, and that's where things like art and music and rituals that honor the seasonal shifts can really bring us more joyous connection. And so the Congress is really intended to, like I said before, center the needs of the participants and the demand of this moment. But some of the activities that might be included are things like story sharing by elders. We might have various workshops in bioregional finance or law or even skills training. Stewardship councils could form to address strategic priorities. We certainly want to have plenty of open space for peer level learning. And there may even be some restoration happening on the land where we are. We're going to be at the Fort Worden State Park in Port Townsend. And as is tradition, there will also be plenty of music, arts, and celebration at the Congress as well. And I just want to say that there's been a very long history, as we've heard a little bit about today and the previous days of this conference, a 50-year history, really, and then the contemporary bioregional organizing. And in 1976, the activist Peter Berg wrote his manifesto called Amble Toward Continent Congress. And there he suggested that Congress was a verb, a coming together with the continent. And so since that time, there's been 10 bioregional congresses with many resolutions that were passed. And my assistant and I are actually combing through all the proceedings and all the various documents that we've been able to collect. And we're compiling a new list. There is an old list out there circulating, but it's incomplete. And I don't advise using it. It has some glaring omissions. But we will provide a new version ahead of the Congress so we maintain the continuity between these events. And we're very honored to have some amazing allies, including Indigenous leaders, earth lawyers, and organizers of past Congresses who are helping us in our advisory circle leading up to this event. And so it's so important that the Congress really reflects the desires for this moment, and which is why we're so pleased to have these great people to assist and lead us on this journey. And then just some additional advisors here who are doing amazing work in various levels of restoration and justice across Turtle Island. And we're so grateful for their interest in leadership. So like many of the other speakers have talked about, we are also looking for funding. We've raised about 40K so far, and we will raise some additional funds through ticket sales. But we'll still need to raise a little bit more and to get to the level of outreach that we'd like. And so that funding is going to go towards, excuse me, several different things. We want to be doing plenty of community outreach to diverse groups. We want to provide some travel scholarships to reduce any participation barriers. We certainly want to compensate our cultural stewards, venue fees, of course, and then we have a pretty robust media plan because we feel like it's really critical in helping this message reach a wider audience beyond just who can attend in person. So we're seeking funds through a tiered sponsorship level, and with values-aligned partners and individuals, donations are tax deductible and no amount is too small. And so I'm going to be sharing a link in just a minute, and there's a link where you can learn more, and I'll just share that in a second. But first, I wanted to say a bit about the media plan. We feel like it's really necessary to help amplify the movement and message beyond this Congress. We're already working with Lewis Fox on phase 1. He worked on the story of stuff, and he's going to produce a short video before the end of the year, actually, that's going to help us contextualize this moment in the broader bioregional history. And then in phase 2, that's where we'll be recording the sessions at the Congress. And then phase 3 will involve some post-production work around sharing the Congress proceedings, and this is what the first one looked like. So something like that you can imagine for this one as well. And yeah, and so we'll distribute the proceedings, we'll distribute the videos, and that's coming in phase 3 after the Congress. And we feel like this is going to have a much larger impact, again, beyond who can attend in person. And then lastly, I'd just like to say that we invite you to join us if you feel called. Together, we can really build this bioregional future that's in service to life. We are seeking additional advisory and organizing circle members. We'll also need many volunteers. And we'd love it if you are interested to express your interest, learn more, or donate. You can visit our new website that just went up it's a tibc11.earth. And it's the QR code there in the middle of the screen. And also the QR code on the right of the screen is if you would like to connect with any online communities who are currently on HILO that are organizing bioregionally. And then also you can email me at my email address, carrie.crisp@gmail.com, if you have other questions. And then finally, I just wanted to express my thanks to my collaborators in this process, to the r3.0 for this wonderful conference, and of course to all of you for your time and attention. And I guess my prayer to close it out is that may we bioregionally go forth in wonder, joy, and peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Really exciting announcement. So next year, right about this time, there will be a bioregional Congress at the continental scale happening. So I'm so excited to be participating in that. Thank you for sharing about that. We will certainly be keeping folks abreast of this as we do this confluencing to congressing. So the Turtle Island Bioregional Congress will set some important examples for going forward. So thank you so much, Carrie. As I announced in the, well, actually, let me pause and let that sink in for folks. And then I will share what my invitation was.